Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video we'll be having a look at the IRONJAWZ for Warcry 2.0. In this deep dive video I'll be going through the reactions, fighter abilities, hero abilities, and all of the fighter cards for every single model that you can choose to play in Warcry. The IRONJAWZ have got loads of character, great fun to play. I've got them built, ready to paint for Age of Sigmar, and I've done an unboxing video for the Start Collecting set that I'll be using in Age of Sigmar, but I think this has got some great potential for Warcry as well. And if you like any of the models you see in this video, there's some links down below to Element Games and Wayland Games, where you can save up to 20% on all the products there. And you'll be supporting me here on the channel as I get a small commission for every sale made. Thanks also to Master Miniatures for sponsoring the channel this month, and the Little Shop DVD and Games, my friendly local game store, for being awesome and offering great discounts too. Okay, let's get started, and first of all we'll have a look at the fighter abilities and the hero abilities, starting with the reaction. And then we'll look at the abilities that all members of the warband can use. And then when we go through the fighter cards, we don't have to repeat each of the fighter abilities. Right, so here we've got the reaction, and any member of the IRONJAWZ Warcry warband with the IRONJAWZ faction rune mark can use this reaction. It's called Get Stuck In. A fighter can make this reaction after an enemy fighter finishes a move action visible to this fighter and within 3 inches of the fighter. Pick another friendly fighter within 3 inches of this fighter. That fighter makes a bonus move action. After that move action, that fighter must be within 1 inch of the enemy fighter that made the move action. That's quite the word salad, but if we break it down, I think it's really quite cool. As long as they get within 3 inches of a particular fighter, you can pick another friendly fighter within 3 inches of the fighter, and then they can make that bonus move action. So it's certainly going to prevent the enemy getting close to any of your IRONJAWZ, because if they do, potentially you could use this reaction and then close them down, stop them from moving, and then they're going to be tied into a fight. And if you've got some brutes nearby, or even some of the gore grunters, they're going to be in for a serious fight and a lot of trouble. So this is really good. I think this is more of a deterrent, but if you get the chance to use it, I think it's going to be really cool, especially around objectives and things like that. You can close in on the enemy and really hinder their movement. Let's have a look at the fighter abilities now that all the IRONJAWZ members can use, as long as they've got the IRONJAWZ faction rune mark. This is a double called Charge. A fighter can only use this ability if there is a visible enemy fighter within 6 inches of them. This fighter makes a bonus move action and must finish closer to the closest visible enemy fighter than they were at the start of that move action. This is pretty nice. As you'll see when we look through the fighter cards later on, they haven't got great movement, the IRONJAWZ, so anything you can give them to give them some extra movement is going to come in really handy. But giving this to the gore grunters who do have a nice movement is going to be very good, but they are quite high in points, as you'll see later on. But this is quite nice, plays in to the whole theme of the IRONJAWZ. They just want to get stuck in. They want to charge at the enemy and just have a fight. So I really like this thematically. I think it works really well. Here's another ability that all IRONJAWZ fighters with the faction rune mark can use. It's a quad this time, called Rampaging Destroyer. It tells us that until the end of this fighter's activation, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of attack actions made by this fighter. In addition, until the end of this fighter's activation, after an enemy fighter is taken down by an attack action made by this fighter can make a bonus move action. We see this one coming up quite a lot or something similar across the factions, but really nice. There's a good chance some of the bigger ones especially are going to do some damage and take out enemy fighters. And if they do, when they're using this, they get a bonus move action as well, which can help them move towards an objective or even move towards another enemy fighter and again hinder their movement, pinning them down. We've seen those fighter abilities that all members with the faction rune mark can use, but there's also an IRONJAWZ hero ability that any hero can use as long as they've got the hero rune mark and the IRONJAWZ rune mark. That's a triple and it's called WA. Until the end of the battle round, add half the value of this ability, rounding up to the move characteristic of friendly fighters while they make a move action that starts within 6 inches of this fighter. So the hero with this ability has to have this 6-inch aura around them for any other fighters to be able to take advantage of it. And again, it's really giving them that extra movement so that they can get closer, make up for the limited movement they have, and then get closer to those enemies and to the objectives. I don't think this is the most exciting hero ability. You need to get a decent roll as well, because you are like halving the value of the ability. So on a 3 or 4, it's only going to be 2 inches. On a 5 or 6, it's only going to be 3 inches extra. So it's not a huge buff, but I think it's going to come in handy. But it really will depend on the quest and the objectives and the things you have to do to achieve them. We've seen all the abilities that all the fighters can use and all the heroes with those rune marks. Let's have a look at the individual fighters now and the individual abilities that come with their cards. And we'll start off with the ORRUK Mega Boss, a fantastic model. I really like this one, such a cool model. Bigger than I thought as well. It's got a pretty large base, and points wise, it's going to come in at 225 points. Movement is 3 inches, so there we go, we're seeing that limited movement already. Toughness is 5, and a whopping 35 wounds, so he can certainly take the punishment. Let's look at the weapon profile next. So this is a range of 1 inch. He can make 3 attacks, so you're going to be rolling 3 dice. Strength is 6, so that's really good. And you're going to be dealing 4 points of damage on a normal hit and 8 points on a critical hit. You really want to get this guy in the fight. This isn't the sort of leader you want to hold back. You want to get him stuck in there, because dealing out 4 to 8 points of damage is massive, and he can also take it as well with those 35 wounds. 225 points, is that quite expensive for what you get here? I don't think so. I think it's a really good choice for the leader and really fun too. And he's going to come with that triple war ability and one other hero ability, but this time it's a quad called Mighty War. This is another ability that's really adding to the movement, and it says that until the end of the battle round, add 3 to the move characteristic of friendly fighters while they make a move action that starts within 9 inches of this fighter. So really this is just extending that aura bubble from 6 inches to 9 inches, which is pretty huge on the small board size that we use in Warcry, and it's going to be a straight up 3. So it's not going to have anything to do with the value of the ability, you're just going to add 3 inches to the move characteristic. That's pretty cool. I think you'll certainly be able to get a few fighters within that 9-inch bubble, and I reckon this is pretty good. But it's a quad, so you are using a big quad, a big use of your abilities here. Would you want to use a quad for that purpose? Again, I think it's going to depend a lot on the objectives and what you have to do to achieve them. And don't forget, the ORRUK Mega Boss will also get all those fighter abilities that we talked about earlier on, and the reaction as well. Next, we've got the ORRUK War Chanter, and this is one of the models that comes in the start collecting box, so great if you can still get hold of that one. He's going to come in at 180 points. He's got movement of 3, so low movement again. Toughness is good though at 5, and again really high. In the wounds department, he can take 32. For the weapon option, he's got a range of 1 inch. He can make 4 attacks, strength 4, dealing 2 to 4, so 2 on a normal hit, 4 on a critical hit. So nothing too flash there, but I think it's the abilities that make this one a good choice for your warband. He's got the flaming swords and he's got the hero rune mark, so that opens up the War Chanter's beat. This is a double, and until the end of the battle round, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of melee attack actions made by other friendly fighters while they are within 6 inches of this fighter. This is my kind of ability. Always adding more attacks is great, and it's only a double, so that's really good, and you're just simply going to add 1, so it doesn't matter the value of that double. It could be a double 1. You're still going to be able to add 1 to the attacks characteristic. So I really like this one, and for me, this guy is one I would want in my warband because of it. Combine that with the other abilities we've already seen at the beginning of the video, and he's pretty good all-rounder, increasing movement and increasing attacks. Next, we've got the ORRUK Weird Knob Shaman, a great character, this one, 170 points, movement 3, toughness a little bit less at 4, but still nice there with 32 wounds. We've got 2 weapon options. One is the magical weapon, which is a ranged weapon, minimum 3 inches, maximum 7. 2 attacks, strength 3, dealing 3 to 6 damage, and this is very standard amongst the kind of wizards and shamans in the game. Most of them will have that stat line, but he's also got the club with a 2-inch range, 3 attacks, strength 4, dealing 1 to 4 on a crit. With the Mystic rune mark and the Hero rune mark, he opens up the triple hero ability called Foot of Gork. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 12 inches of this fighter and roll a number of dice equal to the value of this ability. For each roll of 3 to 5, allocate 1 damage point to the fighter. For each roll of 6, allocate 3 damage points to that fighter. So you definitely want to be getting high here with 5s or 6s for your triple to make the most of this and roll as many dice as you can. With many of the choices for the IRONJAWZ being ones that want to get stuck in, get right in the face of the enemy, it's nice to have something that can attack at range, and it also makes up for the limited movement as well. Now we're on to a really cool model, the Gore Grunter boss with Jagged Gore Hacker, also comes in the Start Collecting box. This one's high, 275 points, but a really good movement, 8 inches. Toughness is 4, thought it might be a little bit higher for him, but only 4, and 40 wounds though, so that's huge. The weapon is a 2-inch range, 4 attacks, strength is 6, and it's going to deal 2 to 4 points of damage on a crit. So not a huge damage output, but with that strength 6, you're going to be rolling nicely to get it. There's going to be some restrictions due to the mounted rune mark, so that's going to have some effect there. But you do have the other rune marks here, the hero and the skull. That's going to give you the triple Gore Grunter charge. This is an IRONJAWZ fighter ability, and it tells us that until the end of this fighter's activation, the next time this fighter finishes a move action within 1 inch of an enemy fighter, pick a visible enemy fighter within 1 inch of this fighter. Allocate a number of damage points to that fighter equal to the value of this ability. This is a really good one. It's very similar, if not the same, to the Untamed Beast. In particular, the Rock Tusk Prowler. It's got an ability that's pretty much the same. So this is really nice, especially when you're getting triple 5s and 6s. Straight up damage. Really nice. If you go with a regular fighter, a Gore Grunter, as well as this hero, then you've got potential to use this same ability, as you'll see later on. So you can really ramp the damage up here if you get a couple of triples in a turn. Then we've got a Gore Grunter boss with Pig Iron Chopper. This is another variation of the models that come in that Start Collecting set. 300 points now, very high, highest out of all of them. It's going to have a movement 8, toughness 4, 40 wounds again, same rune marks, but the weapon's a little bit different. Now it's a range of 1 instead of 2. You've got 5 attacks, which is nice. Strength 5, dealing 2 to 4 on a crit. So with the strength being a little bit lower, you might want to use this boss if you're going after maybe a less tough enemy. But if you're going after a big chunky enemy, you might want to use the other option. As far as ability goes, it's going to be exactly the same as the previous hero that we've seen. Next is the Brute boss with Boss Claw and Brute Smasher. 195 points, great model, 3-inch movement, 5 toughness, 30 wounds. We've got a 1-inch range with the weapon, 4 attacks, strength 5, and it's dealing 2 to 5 on a crit. So nice damage output, really strong, loads of wounds. What's not to like about this? It's a cool model, and I think would look great leading the warband into battle. We've got some different rune marks now. We've got the Brute, the Flaming Skull, and the Hero rune marks. So we're going to get quite a few abilities. Let's have a look at those. First up is a fighter ability called You Messin'. This is a triple. Until control of objectives has been determined at the end of the battle round, enemy fighters with a wounds characteristic of 14 or less are not counted when determining which player controls an objective within 3 inches of this fighter. A really strong ability, and this makes it definitely worth considering in the warband. He also gets a hero ability, the triple De Grab and Bash. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 1 inch of this fighter and roll a dice. On a 3+, until the end of the battle round, that fighter cannot make move actions or disengage actions. In addition, on a roll of a 6, this fighter can make a bonus attack action that targets that enemy fighter. So really, this is quite swingy. You've got to get that 6 ideally to make this triple worth it, I think. And with only 1 dice to do it, I don't know if I like this one that much. The IRONJAWZ have got another Brute boss option. This time it's with the Boss Choppa, 190 points, movement 3, toughness 5, 30 wounds. That's really good. You've got a range of 1, so you want to get in close with this one. Only 3 attacks, but the strength is 6, and the damage is 3 to 6 on a crit. So you're doing a bit more damage, and you're certainly stronger here. And I think if you're going after some bigger models, some bigger monsters maybe, you're going to want to use this one. And as far as abilities go, he's going to get that triple You Messin' and all the other ones he can get for having the faction and hero rune mark. The Ardboys get a boss as well. It's an Ardboy boss with Ardboy Choppers, 135 points. If you want to run all Ardboys, you can certainly do that. Movement 3, toughness 4, 20 wounds. Quite respectable for the cost there of 135 points. You've got a range of 1, 4 attacks, strength 5, dealing 2 to 5 on a crit. It's not a bad choice for 135 points, but the abilities are certainly lacking. As you can see, it's only got the hero rune mark and the IRONJAWZ faction rune mark, so it's not going to open up any extra abilities other than the ones we saw at the beginning of the video. Now we're on to the fighters, so we've got a good selection of heroes there, but now let's look at the regular fighters with an ORRUK Brute with pair of Brute Choppers at 140 points, movement 3, toughness 5, 25 wounds. We've got a weapon here, range of 1, 4 attack, strength 4, dealing 2 to 4 on a crit. So that's okay for 140. Really nice to have those high wounds throughout this warband. But as far as abilities go, it's only going to get 1 in addition to the standard ones, and that's triple Umessin that we covered earlier. Now we're on to an ORRUK Brute with Gore Chopper this time. His value's gone up quite a bit to 175 points, movement 3, toughness 5, 25 wounds. He's going to do a bit more damage with the range of an increase of 2, 3 attack, strength 5, dealing 3 to 6 on a crit. So for the extra points, you are dealing some extra damage there. You start rolling 6s, you're going to take out some enemies pretty quickly. But as far as abilities go, he hasn't got a lot going on. He's just going to get that triple Umessin one. So yeah, nothing new there for him either. And there's one more ORRUK Brute, this time with Jagged Gore Hacker. 150 points, movement 3, toughness 5, 25 wounds. The range is 2 inches, 3 attack, strength 5, dealing 2 to 5 on a crit. This one, a little bit more than the lower point Brute, but yeah, I don't know about this one really, if it appeals as much. I think I'd rather pay the extra points for the extra strength and damage. As far as abilities go, he's going to come with the triple Umessin and the other regular ones. Next, we've got ORRUK Gore Grunter with Jagged Gore Hacker. So if you don't want to take this as a hero, you can take it as a regular fighter. 245 points, so not a lot lower actually. You've still got movement 8, toughness 4, and a lot of wounds at 35. The range for your weapon is 2 inch, 4 attack, strength 5, dealing 2 to 4 on the crit. So again, not a huge output, but pretty good when you combine it with the ability. And the ability is going to be the same as we saw for the hero, where you're going to get the triple Gore Grunter charge. The movement's great for these, and then use your leaders and your bosses and heroes to really boost that movement. You've got another option for Gore Grunters, this time with Pig Iron Chopper, 250 points, movement 8, toughness 4, 35 wounds again. This time it's weapon range 1, 5 attacks, strength 4, dealing 2 to 4 on a crit. And the ability, you've guessed it, Gore Grunter charge. Now we're on to the ORRUK Ardboys. You've got an option of having them with an Ardboys Choppers or Ardboy Big Chopper, both 80 points. Both movement 3, toughness 4, 15 wounds. And that's not bad for 80 points, having that many wounds. I think it's pretty good. Damage with the Ardboy Choppers is range 1, 4 attacks, strength 4, 1 to 4. Or you could go with a big chopper, make less attacks but do more damage with a range of 1, 3 attacks, strength 4, 2 to 4 on a crit. Personally, I'd like to have 4 attacks over 3, but it's nice to mix up the models so you've got some variety. So rule of cool, I'd probably play 1 of each. Then there's another option. This time it's the ORRUK Ardboy with Ardboy Chopper and ORRUK Forged Shield. Couldn't find a good picture of those, but basically you get some shields in the pack that you can build, and then you would use them in Age of Sigmar as well. But that's going to give you a little bit more toughness with these. The points are the same, but you've got movement 3. Now the toughness is 5, and the wounds are still 15. Weapons range 1, 3 attack, strength 4, dealing just 1 to 4 on a crit. But you do get the Bulwark icon here, so that's going to give you another rune mark, which opens up the IRONJAWZ fighter ability, which is a double duff up the big thing. Until the end of this fighter's activation, add 1 to the attacks and strength characteristics of melee attack actions made by this fighter that target an enemy fighter with a wounds characteristic of 15 or more. I really like this one. I think for 80 points to have that many wounds and this ability attached to it, I think it's well worth it, and I definitely put a couple of these in my warband. Here's an example of a warband that I'll be trying out with my new IRONJAWZ. I'm going to go with an ORRUK War Chanter as my hero, and then I'm going to have an ORRUK Gore Grunter with Pig Iron to get that extra movement. I'm only going to put 1 in there, 1 Gore Grunter, just to have some options to move around the board a little bit quicker. Then I'm going to have 1 ORRUK Brute with pair of Brute Choppers, just to be a pretty tough, and then combining that with the ORRUK War Chanter and keeping them quite close, I think will be a really good move. Then I'm going with Ardboy Choppers, and I'm probably going to mix up 3 of those with the different weapons, but definitely going to have 2 with the ORRUK Forged Shields. you'll definitely want to be combining that ORRUK War Chanter with some other abilities that give extra movement, because that's really what holds the IRONJAWZ back. Their movement of 3 isn't good. Even though the board is small, that's really tight. So you certainly want to be positioning them correctly and then really holding on to those objectives once you get there, which is what they're going to be good at. They're going to be really tough once they get into combat, but they are going to suffer from ranged attacks, and they haven't got much to really counter that, especially with the choices I've got here. And movement with that Gore Grunter is going to help, but still it's only one model within the warband. So I think he's going to play a pretty critical role in this, and manoeuvring him and positioning him is going to be very important. I was thinking about how deploying them with a hammer, dagger and shield, and I'd probably put the ORRUK War Chanter with the Brute and the ORRUK Ardboy with shield. Go with that as a little combo, and then in the other 2 deployments I'd go Gore Grunter and then go with another shield, and then take that shield and have him either as a loner just running around doing some crazy stuff, or try and get him as close as I can to the ORRUK War Chanter to grow that kind of little group, while the Gore Grunter just runs off trying to get objectives and take out key enemy positions. And then I'd have another deployment with 3 ORRUK Ardboys and keep those together as well. And I think that would be a good way to play this list. There you go, that's the IRONJAWZ deep dive for Warcry 2.0, and I hope you enjoyed this video and it gave you a good idea about what you can expect from this really fun set of characters. I think they're awesome in Age of Sigmar, and I think they're really fun in Warcry 2, and I can't wait to get my box painted up and finished and ready to go in both games. Always better when they're painted to play them for sure. If you'd like to see the contents of this Start Collecting box, I've done an unboxing video where you can see the link at the end of this video, and you could get some really nice models from that for all the different ones we featured here, and my list is pretty much built around that. Thanks again for watching. If you'd like to check out all my other Warcry videos and Age of Sigmar, all available on the channel. I've made hundreds for both games, so there'll be links down below to the playlists. Be great if you could have a look at those. But for now, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please hit the like button, subscribe for more videos like this one, and I look forward to seeing you here next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games. A big thanks to my Patreon supporters for helping me to keep going with these daily videos. If you'd like to join the Patreon community and support the channel while getting some great perks, there's a link in the description down below. It'd be great to see you there.